Hi everybody, we have a message here from Anonymous. Dear Ollie, I've been watching your videos now for about a month. I discovered narcissism 2 months ago. I really wanted to write, but don't feel my story is as extreme as others. Maybe it was just more subtle, which could make it just as sinister. As a child, I was pretty quiet and shy, the youngest of four. I don't much recall having any independent thoughts ever. My parents was divorced when I was 5. I barely remember my father being in the home, but I do remember some of the disintegration of the marriage. He was abusive, we were poor. I now think it was on purpose. After the divorce, the 3 youngest children stayed with my mother. Our eldest brother went with my father. He was abused there. We found out he was gay several years later. He's now in Florida and we're Facebook friends, but that's it. I recently found out he's just out of an abusive relationship and mentioned NPD to him. I hope he follows up. I don't believe my mother is a narc, but I do believe she has traits probably from her own abuse. My mother was abused in her marriage. She grew up abused and controlled by her father. She contends that my grandfather did the best he knew how. I have no relationship with my grandfather. She still keeps in touch, however. We grew up taking care of ourselves. My sister cooked, we cleaned. My mom worked so much, we had a lot of freedom. Despite the emotional difficulties, there were good times. We grew up religious. I genuinely believe and have faith, though later on this would definitely be trying. When I became a teenager, my mother became extremely depressed and neglected and abused us. Constant criticism, never good enough. The words "I love you" never uttered by any of us. I still struggle to say those words now. I asked her if she thought I was beautiful once. She said she thought my friend was beautiful. She told me she didn't know why anyone would want to be with me. And you don't think your mother's a narcissist? This is the typical mean girl mother. She was jealous of the attention I got from boys, though I didn't have a proper boyfriend until I was 19. She constantly threatened to kick us out. I'd always just retreat to my room. I wasn't allowed to play sports, talk to boys, go to dances. Eventually, I didn't even miss these things. It never even occurred to me to go to a graduation. But I performed well in school. I had no attachments, though. I was extremely lonely. I don't think it was intentional per se. It seems that maybe she was trying to protect us from some bad force. No, it was intentional. When you ask if you think your mother, if she thinks you're beautiful, and she says your friend is beautiful, and she doesn't understand why anybody would want to be with you, that's intentional. There's no protecting you from a bad force in that. That's intentional. And as a woman, she knows what saying something like that to a young girl does. She knew it. Your mother's absolutely a bitter narcissist. She's absolutely a narcissist. And I can say I was spared a lot, but also lost out on a lot of self-development. My days were spent. God, I don't even know. I can remember laying in bed all day or watching TV or listening to music. She became involved with several men, married men with wives back in Mexico. Another mother looking for dick and attention. One of them hung a shelf in my room. I tried to take it down and she threatened me. She stopped hitting me in my late teens. I'm not sure what the fight was about, but she tried to hit me with a hanger. I told her if she'd hit me, I'd hit her back. She thought twice and did not try to hit me again. Everything she did seemed to be for the attention of others, not really for our benefit. That is a narcissist. She didn't want you to take down the shelf because she didn't want to upset her man. She didn't want to screw up her dick and attention. And she probably didn't care if they had wives back in Mexico. Our household was like a war zone. Now I think back and think my sister and brother and I were all just fighting for attention instead of banding together. My sister was the favorite. She was homeschooled. She was ill. Everything she asked for, she got, including a trip to Costa Rica. She could garden, which really was just a bunch of overgrown weeds left unattended in the backyard. We complained, but we told her to leave it be. Until the neighbors complained. Then they cut it down. It was never even a thought in my head to ask my mother for something. Later, her attention turned to my brother. My mother bought him 4 cars, I think, all of which he didn't take or appreciate. I'm on my 3rd car purchased by me since I was 17. She also paid for his college courses. I had to take out loans. He became an EMT but had a seizure at work and they put him on leave. So instead of looking for another job, he tried to sit around and play video games for 3 months so he could collect disability benefits. My mother ended up defaulting on the car she had co-signed for him. He refused to pay the bill. She eventually had to file for bankruptcy because of this and other debts. Another man's son. Another son husband. That's what he is. He's another son husband. And this is what they do. They sit around like friggin' deadbeat husbands and mommy just will go bankrupt for them. She continued to give him money, even after he moved away to Mexico to marry my former best friend. I believe she only started hanging out with me to be closer to him. I don't think they are narcs. They are much kinder to me now. Young people can just be selfish. My father I do believe to be a narc. He came around sparingly, probably when he was bored. He abused my mother and my oldest brother. We were protected from him by the divorce and the fact that he had no real visitation rights. He didn't pay support to my mom. We'd spend time with him sometimes, but it was never a regular thing. I learned early on not to trust or believe in him. In my later years, I used him for money, basically. I cared for his basic needs. He was sick with heart disease and kidney failure, so he needed medicine, food, some company. I provided. He'd alienated everyone in the family. My mother, brother, sister did not speak to him. I believe my eldest brother moved to Florida to escape him. Eventually, he died alone. His dialysis port was dislodged somehow and he bled out in his bathtub. I didn't cry for several months. I didn't love him, but he was there. On to the true narc in my life, my boyfriend slash husband. We met at school when I was 14, during a time when I was really lonely. He was charming and called every day. I didn't really find him attractive, but I had nothing else to do and no one else to talk to. So I became dependent on him. He was 17 at the time. Despite my desperation for love and attention, we didn't sleep together until I was 16. He was 19. Once, years later, someone asked me if my mother called the police. It had never even occurred to me that he had done something bad. My mother was ignorant of our relationship until 7 years later. That's how neglectful she was. I could just walk out of the house and no one would ask or miss me. I never had to lie because no one really cared. He was a wild boy, selling and using drugs. My experience in these things was less than none. I didn't even know what the physical act of sex was until I went to high school and figured it all out for myself. For years, I thought he was just an occasional pot smoker. Boy, was I wrong. We broke up. I quotation this because we were never together now that I look back. But I felt we were considering it. We were together several times a week and physically intimate. Chalk it up to youth and naivete. But I think he used a young girl that was in love with him. We broke up when he got another girl pregnant. In retrospect, it was an awesome thing. I didn't speak to him for almost 3 years. I graduated high school at 16. He started college and graduated at 19 with an associate. I had a good boyfriend during that time. Volunteered to teach Bible courses in the community. Never told anyone about my narc boyfriend. I feared the consequence. I think if I had the knowledge I have now, I would have been able to do more. I had no drive. I did at my mother's wishes. Despite all the seeming success, I was tormented on the inside. I cried all the time. I was a shell on the inside. People noticed, but instead of asking me what's wrong, they just ignored and shamed me. Why do you do this? Why aren't you like this? We don't want you around. Get your own friends. My sister used to interrupt me as I spoke or completely ignore me. Like what I had to say was not worth listening to. My brother borrowed money from me, money I was saving for summer school. He never gave it back. When I complained, he said, "You're going to flunk out anyways." I had stated this once, and he'd remembered it and turned it back on me. That was like a good enough reason to steal from me. My best friend started seeing my brother. I could no longer trust or confide in her, as she was the one I used to tell all the horrible things my brother used to do to us and how he used to punish us if he didn't get his way. She still dated and married him. My boyfriend was young and too busy trying to keep the approval of people that didn't like me, so that didn't work out. And you don't think these people are all narcissists in your life. They are displaying every narcissistic tactic known. Your brother's a typical golden child, narcissistic, spoiled mama's boy. Just like Charlene's brother who doesn't wipe his own ass. It's the same sense of entitlement. I can take what I want from you. I can steal what I want from you. I can say what I want to you. I can make fun of you whenever I want. That's the dynamic. That's narcissism. So I went back to my narc. Where do I start? At this point, I can barely think of anything to write. I took a suggestion to make a list of all things the narc has done to you, so I'll just paste it here. 1, he got another girl pregnant. That's when we broke up the first time. 2, he never told you he had a girlfriend, twice over. 3, he doesn't pay child support. 4, wasn't there when your children were born. He was in jail both times. 5, he didn't go to doctor's appointments. 6, he hid his drugs and habit. I knew he smoked weed, but I didn't know he was a daily coke user until he was 15 years old. He told me 2 years into our marriage. He had no desire to quit. 7, he told you he would take his kids one place, but was never living there at all. Ends up living with another woman down the street from my house. 8, he blamed you for the cop showing up at his job when he really lied about where he was living. So they had to go to his job to find him. I got a DVO for violent incidents that occurred after we were married within the first year. 9, he blamed you for CPS being involved. My firstborn witnessed some of the violence and was even spanked by the narc when my son tried to help me. 10, he used the DVO as an excuse to cheat on you. 11, he lies and hides everything. 12, he sold drugs and used drugs in front of the children. 13, he hid that gun in your house. 14, he told you he was going to give Neil $40 for that TV and never did. He took the money. 15, he didn't pay you back that $200 on the time like he said. 16, he spent the night when working at the restaurant. He spent the night with L while working at the restaurant. 17, he hid A from you, cheated on you down the street from your own house. He abandoned you while you were disfellowshipped, a version of no contact perpetrated against the victim instead of the actual abuser. I was exiled from my religious community because of having sex before marriage, so I married. 19, he wasn't there when you were reinstated. A year after marriage, I was allowed to return. 20, he didn't stay with you when you were in the hospital. I'd had swine flu when I was pregnant. I was very ill and could not recover. We fought and I asked him to leave until he calmed down. He refused, so I tried to leave. He pulled me back into the house and pinned me to the ground. This was the same altercation where my son tried to help me and he was spanked. I became sicker after this and ended up in the hospital for 3 days. I left early because I couldn't bear the thought of my son being alone with his father. I was so distraught at his abusive behavior, I spoke to one of my nurses. That's how CPS became involved. I ended up filing for DVO at the social worker's request. They put me in DV classes, and I saw all the girls that had children taken away and became frightened. That's what they would do to me. 21. After all she's done, he's still friends with L. L is a narc girl he keeps around as a friend. She's willing to do anything for him and is a psychopath. She used to call and text me before we were married. She also, knowing about the DVO, called the hospital on the day my second son was born, pretending to be my mother. My mother lives in Honduras now. The nurses thought the calls were suspicious and brought it to our attention. I had made 5 court dates trying to have the DVO lowered from no contact to non-violent contact, but the narc never showed up for any of the court dates. Elle called the police and had him taken to jail while I was in labor. I know it was her because she called the hospital 7 minutes later saying she heard he was in jail and wanted to know if I needed anything. I gave her the business and hung up. Our son was sick in the NICU for a month after failing to breathe from a difficult labor. Despite this, he remains friends with her. 22. He called you clueless, stupid, when in reality you just believed your husband wouldn't do those things. He choked and slapped you when it was him that was cheating. He abandoned you in that crappy house on Marcellus. He tried to convince me to move several times before. Now I know it was because he was sleeping with the girl down the street from us. He did finally get us into a house in a different neighborhood, and he stopped coming home. I saw the signs and moved my children back into the home we were in to begin with. He took other girls around in both of your cars. He would also use my car despite having his own. His way of isolating and controlling me. He puts nothing towards the car bills. He was too drunk to make sure his son got to school. This was the third and last time I kicked him out. He also complained he was too drunk to make it home. Or sometimes he would make it home, but he'd not put any gas in the car, and we would run out of gas on the way to school, etc. I could allow myself to be abused, but it became too much to see my children being affected by it. He had other women around your children. He told the judge you were on 10 different pills, when in reality it was one pill and other vitamins. During our DVO hearing, he did show up for. He let A post pictures of him and her as a profile pic. During our marriage, she is now his new supply. During our marriage, he would stay with her down the street from my home, and she also lied on the stand to take a charge for him. He would have gone to jail for 5 years had she not saved him. He took her to his sister's wedding. He took me home at 10 a.m. and picked her up and took her. He never confesses or feels sorry. I always had to catch him or have some other girl tell me. He spanked my firstborn for helping you. He called my firstborn retarded. He has a stutter and is behind in his reading with a little social anxiety. I think he's just seen too much abuse and has been affected. Yeah, I think so. He used information from a confession against you. I confessed to him that I needed help with the children because I was stressed out and I felt I might hurt them. This was when my second was 2 months old. He turned it around and called me a child beater. He's a child molester. His new supply, they first slept together when she was 14 and he was 21. Now I know it's a pattern for him. Young girls. I'm convinced now she's been around the entire time and I've just become old enough to be his main supply. Also, his father is 50-something and got a 16-year-old girl pregnant. What did I tell you about this culture? They are married now with 3 children. When I tried to talk to him about this, he screamed at me and called me judgmental. I now know he was so offended because of what he himself was doing. He didn't come home at night at least 3 or 4 times a week. I gave up trying to fight him on this. Just assumed he was selling drugs, using drugs, etc. I believe that to be true for the most part of the times. But he was also seeing other women. I just couldn't prove it, and I couldn't leave without it. Eventually, though, I got to the point where I didn't need it. The truth followed after the separation. He didn't want to speak to you before 10 a.m. Literally, that was a rule. He used my abandonment issues against me because of what happened in my family and church. He would monopolize on my hurt and use it as a means to control me and keep me with him. He would scream and yell at you, chasing you around the house. He hid his marriage to you from the public. He doesn't respect you. I've known this for 3 years. He doesn't love you. He never did. Just figuring this one out, unbelievably or not. I know this is probably 10% of the things he's done. 45% I'm too naive to understand. The other 45% I'm just clueless about. I'm 27. I have 2 sons. I filed for divorce. I changed my number 2 months ago. He blocked me on Facebook. He still comes to see the kids. I don't believe he loves them. I think they are supply for him. He shows the youngest more love than the eldest. The eldest has seen the mask slip too many times. He gives me $20 bills sometimes when he does come. In 3 months, I've received $80. I filed for child support. Just today, I wrote him a note telling him not to come back to my house, to file for visitation, and leave any money at the kids at the child support office. Seeing him regularly makes it confusing on my brain since I'm conditioned to his attention. I saw the movie Room a couple months ago. I bawled my eyes out. I wrote in my diary, I know that's not what happened, but I feel like that is what happened. The depression and isolation I felt when I was younger, when I didn't see or talk to him for 3 years, was so traumatizing that I never wanted to go through it again. So I held on for longer than I ever should have. I have more knowledge and confidence now, so I feel I can definitely make a success of being without him. But I still feel hollow sometimes. I know as time passes I will recover, and I am looking forward to a greater life than I can ever imagine. Anonymous. Okay. Few things here. Your mother is who set you on this path. Your mother took any type of femininity of you, any type of personal pride in yourself. She stole it all while she was on a quest for dick and attention. She didn't care what you did. You could have come and gone as you pleased, but she made sure to tell you she wouldn't understand why any man would be with you. So it's no wonder you would end up with a fucking guy who would do this stuff. Listen to the stuff you've accused him of, like what he's done to you. Not that you've accused him, what he's done to you. The sleeping around, the marriages with other children, the other children by other women. This is all the type of men your mother gravitated to. This seems to be a pattern within your family. Your best friend ended up with your brother, something that Charlene dealt with. One of her friends started dating one of her brother. It's like, I know you want to pin this all on your father being a narcissist, but your mother, your brother, and your sister did more damage to you than you think. Your father wasn't there to do it. Not that he didn't get his share of the responsibility, but the blame for why you have been such a pushover and a sap for this guy lies directly where you were raised, in that environment, and that is your mother and that is your siblings. Your mother kept banging guys from Mexico with wives. Your brother with the best friend, the guy you're with constantly knocking chicks up with that whole I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want. That's how Charlene's father used to talk. That's how all the men in her family talk. It's this machismo thing because they know they're weak, feckless men. That's why they act this way. And for some reason, the women, like your mother, are impressed by it. You were never impressed by it. Your mother was. You were gravitated towards it because maybe you were trying to fill what your mother saw as acceptable. Your mother stole from you any sense of femininity and any pride in your looks and anything like that. So of course you're going to end up with an abusive monster like that. Of course you are. Now, as far as your children go, and the drugs, and the violence, and the guns, girl, you cannot let this guy around your children unsupervised. He's got guns. One of them can go off and get killed. He's an idiot. That means he hangs around other idiots. He plays idiot games. He's going to win an idiot prize, and that's getting somebody himself or his children killed. He's running around like he's playing idiot games. And you're going to get you're going to get the idiot prize for that. Your kids are too important. You can't trust this guy. He's capable of anything. Guns and coke and all that shit. You need to bring this up in court. You say, like, this guy is dangerous. He's been to jail. He's dealing drugs. There's guns in the house. Well, he doesn't even show up half the time. And I guarantee you, if you told him you were going to go that route, you'd never hear or see from him again. He'd probably bounce back to Mexico or wherever he's from, because he's not going to want to do it. He's going to have to make the decision of whether or not screwing with you is worth being put on child support, going to jail, all that shit, all that nonsense with his idiot games being exposed in family court that he doesn't want. He'll probably just bounce and you'll never hear from him again. But you can't just keep quiet about that and let him go off with your children. You can't. He's been violent towards them. He has guns. He's dealing drugs. He's doing drugs. Your kids could get in that. I mean, you can't. You gotta think of your kids first. And if I were you, and where's your mother? Where's your family? She bounced probably for the best opportunity she got over in Honduras so she could be taken care of. After she did nothing to raise you. She did nothing to raise you. You had to figure this all out on your own with her as a basis mother of how a woman is supposed to be. And what did she do? Told you you were ugly and stupid and didn't understand why anybody would want to be with you. So it's no wonder why you would be putting up with this bullshit like you have. You don't need to. You really don't. So if you're in the process, you need to bring these issues about your ex or soon-to-be ex, whatever you want to call them, to the attention of the court. Because if it doesn't, one of your kids can be really hurt. If he plays idiot games, he's going to win an idiot's prize. And that's not good for anybody. And you have the opportunity to prevent it. You should. So thank you very much for your story. And there's a lot going on here. And you should be proud that you were able to accomplish what you've been able to accomplish so far. You know, graduating high school at 16, getting out of college at 19. Look, you could have gone down that drug path with him and it could have been real bad, but you were smart enough to stay grounded. And at 27, looks like you're coming out the other side of it much, much earlier than a lot of us ever do. So consider yourself ahead of the game. But please take my advice about the children and family court, and because you can't just let him go off with those children. You can't. You know, there's too much to lose. So thank you again, and thank you to everybody who's watched. Please leave any comments or advice in the comments section below. And again, if you have a story, a question, a topic that you'd like an immediate answer to, you know what to do with the PayPal link in the description box. I'll have it right out to you. This is Ollie Matthews. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all again shortly. Bye.